You're keeping score, not because you're petty, not because you're ungrateful, because you're exhausted, because the kindness you keep giving out, the real, genuine, costly kindness, is slowly draining something inside you that isn't refilling anymore. You stayed late for someone who never once asked how you were doing after. You said yes when everything in you wanted to say no. You swallowed the truth so they wouldn't feel bad, so the atmosphere wouldn't shift, so the relationship would stay intact. And you called all of it being a good person. And you are a good person. That's not in question. What's worth examining is what that goodness has been costing you, quietly, over time, in ways you've probably been too kind to admit even to yourself. Because the worst part isn't the exhaustion, it's the guilt you feel for even noticing it. You've spent so long being told that kindness is always virtuous, that more of it is always better, that the discomfort you feel is just selfishness trying to disguise itself, that you've started to distrust your own experience. What if your experience is trying to tell you something important? What if the kindness you're most proud of is doing something to you and to the people around you that nobody ever warned you about? Stay with me. Because what I want to share with you today isn't going to make you less kind. It's going to make your kindness mean something again. It's going to make it sustainable. And it's going to give you back something you've been giving away without even realizing it. Part 1. The kindness you were taught was never really about you. Nobody sat you down and told you to make yourself smaller. It happened much more quietly than that. Think back to the first time you understood, not heard, but understood in your body, that making other people comfortable was your job, regardless of what it cost you. For most people, that lesson came early. Maybe it was a parent who responded with warmth when you were agreeable and withdrew when you were not. Maybe it was a classroom where the quiet, accommodating child was labeled a good kid, and the one who spoke up was labeled difficult. Maybe it was a family where keeping the peace was the highest possible virtue, and disturbing that peace, even honestly, even fairly, was the thing that made people pull away from you. And so, you adapted, you became kind, genuinely, deeply, impressively kind. And it worked. People felt safe with you. People leaned on you. People called you their favorite person in the room. You became the one everyone could count on, the one who held things together, the one who made hard situations feel more bearable just by being present. That is a real gift, and it came from a real place inside you. But underneath that gift, something else was being built. Without your awareness, without your consent. A habit of setting yourself aside so practiced that it stopped feeling like a choice. A reflex so automatic you can't always tell anymore where their comfort ends and your own sense of self begins. That's not a character flaw. That's a survival strategy that served you once and has quietly outlived its purpose. And recognizing that is not a betrayal of your kindness. It's the beginning of reclaiming it. Part 2. What chronic kindness actually does to a relationship. Here's the part that rarely gets said out loud, and it's the part I want you to really sit with. When you are relentlessly, unconditionally, frictionlessly kind, when you never push back, never disappoint, never let your own needs create any tension in a relationship, you don't become more loved, you become less real. People may start sensing that something about the interaction isn't fully genuine. Think about the people you trust most in your life. The ones whose opinion genuinely means something to you, whose presence actually makes you feel less alone. Are they the ones who always agree with you, who never challenge you, who make every interaction smooth and easy and entirely comfortable, chronic kin? Or are they the ones who sometimes say something hard, who care enough to be honest even when it risks the moment, who see you clearly, the parts that shine and the parts that struggle, and stay anyway? The psychologist Carl Rogers spent his life studying what makes human connection feel real. His conclusion was that genuine relationships require what he called congruence, the alignment between what you feel inside and what you express outside. When those two things don't match, people sense it, not always consciously, but somewhere underneath the words, they feel the gap. And over time, without knowing why, they begin to trust the relationship a little less. When your kindness is chronic, when it happens regardless of how you actually feel, it becomes a kind of armor so consistent that people stop seeing the person beneath it. They stop knowing who they're really dealing with. They stop being able to trust that what you say reflects what you mean. And I want to name something tender here, especially for those of you who have given so much of yourselves to your relationships. The people who love you are not best served by a version of you that holds everything together perfectly. They are best served by a version of you that is actually there, present, honest, real. You are not being kind when you smile through something that hurts. You are being absent, and the people in your life deserve your presence far more than your performance. Part 3. The person your kindness is actually protecting. This is the question worth sitting with the longest. When you bite your tongue instead of saying the hard thing, who are you protecting? When you say yes to something you deeply don't want to do, whose comfort are you actually prioritizing? When you smooth over a conflict before it's genuinely been resolved, what are you really avoiding? This is not a judgment. It's an honest question because the answer changes everything. Most chronic kindness, when you trace it back gently and honestly, isn't primarily about the other person. It's about protecting yourself from a very specific discomfort. The discomfort of disappointing someone, of someone being upset with you, of the silence that follows an honest no, of the possibility that if you take up space, or ask for something, or say what you actually think, the relationship won't survive it. Brené Brown's research suggests that people often choose being nice over being honest. Put another way, the most common form of dishonesty in close relationships isn't lying. It's choosing to be nice instead of honest, because honesty feels too risky. We call it being considerate. We call it keeping the peace. But underneath it, it's self-protection wearing the clothes of generosity. And here is what that costs the people you love, because you do love them, and this part matters. Your friend who keeps making the same painful mistake. She may keep making it partly because the people closest to her are too afraid of her reaction to say anything clearly. Not in passing, not gently hinted at, clearly, with care, but clearly. Your colleague who has been struggling, who everyone talks about quietly, but no one actually talks to, he has never had the honest conversation he actually needs, because every face around him says fine, every interaction says fine, and so he has no real information to work with. When you protect someone from your honest response, you are, however lovingly, withholding something they needed, something that might have changed the direction of something important in their life. Your kindness in those moments isn't protecting them, it's protecting you through them. And the most uncomfortable thing about recognizing that isn't the realization itself, it's understanding how long it has already been true. Let me know if this is helping by hitting the subscribe button. It's the simplest way to support the channel so that I can keep making videos like this one. Part 4. The difference between kindness and goodness. They are not the same thing, and spending a life confusing them is one of the quieter forms of self-betrayal. Kindness is a behavior. It's the warmth in your voice, the favors you offer, the way you soften a difficult moment. It is genuinely valuable. It makes the world more bearable and connection more possible. But it is a behavior. It lives on the surface. And like any behavior, it can be performed without being felt. Goodness is a commitment to truth, to someone's actual well-being, not just their immediate comfort, to saying the difficult thing with care because leaving it unsaid would be a quiet abandonment, to respecting someone enough to treat them as capable of handling reality, because they are. A doctor who only tells patients what they want to hear is not being kind. A friend who never challenges you is not, at the deepest level, being a good friend. A partner who absorbs everything silently and calls it love is not building intimacy. They are building a reservoir of unspoken things that will eventually find a way out, usually all at once, usually at the worst possible moment. Goodness sometimes looks uncomfortable from the outside. It creates tension in the short term. It risks a relationship in the moment in order to preserve it over time. It says the thing that needs to be said, even though the easy thing was right there, even though the easy thing would have made everyone feel better immediately. That is not a failure of kindness. That is what kindness looks like when it is rooted in something real, when it comes from genuine care rather than the need to be seen as caring. That is kindness that has grown up. Part 5. 3 things that change. When you stop performing kindness, the first thing that changes is your energy. The exhaustion that comes from years of people-pleasing isn't a sign of weakness. It isn't laziness. It is the very specific cost of constant self-monitoring, of always reading the room before you speak, of spending more mental and emotional energy managing other people's reactions than actually inhabiting your own experience. When you begin to release that, and it does happen gradually, not all at once, the energy comes back quietly. You'll notice it in small things first. Opinions you stop swallowing before they reach your mouth. Evenings you stop dreading. Conversations you stop rehearsing for days in advance. A subtle lightness that arrives in places you didn't realize had been heavy. You will feel it before you can name it, and when you can name it, you will wonder how you lived so long without it. The second thing that changes is who stays. Some people are in your life not because they know you, but because they know the version of you that always says yes, that never causes difficulty, that can be counted on to accommodate. That version of you has been enormously useful to them. But it was never really you. When you begin to show up more fully, when you start saying no, or I need something too, or that's not actually okay with me, some people will pull back. That will hurt. I won't pretend otherwise. It will feel like confirmation of your oldest fear, that if you stop being easy, you stop being loved. But what's actually happening is a clarification. What those people are losing isn't you. It's a service. And you were never obligated to provide it. What remains, what stays after that clarification, are relationships built on something real. People who are still there when you're inconvenient, who are interested in you when you disagree with them, who can hold space for your needs alongside their own. Those relationships will deepen in ways you didn't know were available to you, because for the first time, they're built on genuine contact rather than careful performance. The third thing that changes is your relationship with yourself. Every time you say something honest that costs you something, every time you let someone sit with a disappointment rather than rushing to absorb it for them, every time you choose your own integrity over someone's momentary comfort, you send yourself a message that many people spend their entire lives waiting for someone else to send them. That your experience is real and worth acknowledging. That your needs are not an inconvenience, but a legitimate part of any honest relationship. That you are not simply a resource others draw from, but a person with an interior life that deserves the same care and attention you have spent years extending to everyone else. The Stoics called this living in accordance with your nature, not performing a version of yourself that earns approval, but inhabiting the one that earns your own respect. That is a standard most people never set for themselves, but once you set it, you will understand, slowly and then all at once, why nothing else ever quite felt like enough. Here's what all of this comes down to. One thing that took most people years to genuinely believe about themselves. The world does not need more niceness. It needs more honesty delivered with care, more courage that arrives wrapped in warmth, more people willing to say the true thing, not because they want to cause discomfort, but because they respect you too much to say only the easy thing. That is what real kindness looks like, not the kind that costs you nothing, not the kind that runs on empty and calls it virtue, the kind that comes from a full cup, from genuine choice, from someone who knows the difference between what you want to hear and what you need to know, and loves you enough to offer you the second thing, even when it's harder. Stop performing kindness. Start living it, because the people in your life deserve the real you, not the one who holds everything together at the cost of falling apart privately, not the one who says yes while everything inside says no, the one who shows up as they actually are, with warmth, with honesty, with the kind of presence that can only exist when you stop spending all your energy maintaining a performance. That version of you is not less kind. That version of you is more present, more trustworthy, more genuinely loving. And you deserve to meet them too. Where in your life are you performing kindness instead of living it? Where has being nice become a way of making yourself invisible? Drop it in the comments. I think more people are carrying this than anyone admits. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one.